Hey, thanks for coming back. Today on the bench is it's a gun that so many people, there are over 1 million of these guns are made. This is a Mossberg model 183D, like in Delta, 183D. Bolt action shotgun chambered for the 410 bore shotgun shell. Not really a typical high dollar collector piece by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a ton of them out there. And there are Mossberg collectors out there, quite a few actually. There's a whole association. A guy by the name of Vic Havlin wrote a very nice book about Mossberg. I have it myself. And there's a ton of stuff out there, so many different variants, it makes for an interesting collection. So we're going to talk about this gun, a little bit of the history of Mossberg, and then some of the mechanicals that go on with this gun that you want to take a look at. So Mossberg started a long time before this shotgun was made, and the president of Mossberg was Ivor O. Mossberg, who died in 1945, and then his brother Harold took over and became president. And they hired a man by the name of Walter Pearson, hired him from Marlin, and he became the executive vice president of Mossberg, and he was doing most of the outside operations of Mossberg, the marketing, the product development, and things of that nature, and coordinating with the inside folks to get stuff out. So they had shotguns, bolt-action shotguns, the Model 83 and the Model 85 in line pre-World War II, and then they made some changes to the design, changes to the mechanicals, and the 100 series, 183, 185, came out in 1946. So that's what we have here. So there's some... You have to pay attention exactly what shotgun you have, because there are sub-series of that also. This, for example, is the model 183D, like in Delta, / C, like in Charlie. And those suffixes to that model number represent certain design changes to the gun. So some parts for the dash Bs won't interchange with the dash As, and then likely the dash Cs won't interchange further. So you have to kind of pay attention what parts are, and some do. I mean, some parts carried on throughout the entire model run. So, but there were changes in a lot of parts. So it can make it somewhat problematic when you're trying to source parts for these. Some of the parts are being remade, most are not, and you have to scavenge them from used gun part sources. And I've been pretty vocal about it. I'm not a huge fan of that. I try to buy new repro parts if at all possible. Sometimes that's not economically feasible, and it's certainly not feasible to make a one-off part for this gun when we're trying to repair it. So in that 100 series of shotguns, the model number indicates the gauge. So all the 183s are 410 bore, the 185 are 20 gauge, the 190s are 16 gauge, and the 195s are 12 gauge. There are no 28 gauges, there are no 10 gauges. So most of those are 2 3/4 inch chambers only, with the exception of the 183s. This particular gun has a 3-inch chamber. It's so marked on the barrel for 3-inch, so of course you can fire the 2.5 410 bore as well. So how did it start? Well, the 183D Delta, 1947 through 1948. So the big kind of yeehaw, one of the big changes is the removable choke tubes. Now, not like removable choke tubes today. These screw off. The barrel has male threads, the choke tube has female threads. They're fairly coarse. So the gun came with 2 choke tubes, one modified, one full, and it came with a little spanner wrench that you would put into that hole. Just a little spanner wrench, put in the hole and tighten it down a little better than hand tight. You don't have to go Godzilla tight on these things for them to work. So in 1948, they changed to the D/A when they put an extractor on the left-hand side of the bolt. Let's see if we can get that bolt out of here. There we go. Just by pulling the trigger to the rear, holding it to the rear, you can remove the bolt. That's when this left side extractor came with the D/A to improve the extraction and ejection of the gun. So in 50, they changed the firing pin design with the dash B, ran that from 50 to 53. The dash C, they included an ejector interrupter on the gun, which held the ejector out of the way until it was in play, right? So it pops up. So that introduced in 53, ran to 56. They modified that in 56 with a D/D, 56 through 60. Then the D/E, they introduced a slimmer barrel profile from 60 to 63. The D/F, they made changes to the trigger and the safety lever on the back, ran that through 60 through 71. And then the DG had a different front sight, also 68 to 71. So we see in the early 70s, this model went away, and we start to see the fading of bolt-action shotguns in general along that time, and eventually the entire bolt-action family of shotguns were dropped from the line. That said, there's still a whole lot of people that like bolt-action shotguns. They're still out there. We still buy them. We still sell them on the used market for sure. There's still a lot of people that want to get a bolt-action shotgun, particularly as a first gun, a bolt-action 410. They want to get a safe repeating shotgun for their young person growing up. So this does have a magazine. They did make a single-shot version, as well as Marlin and a few other people in the bolt-action shotgun world made single shotguns. This has an internal magazine, 3-shell magazine here. So later on, they would make a gun with a detachable box magazine, as did a few other manufacturers in the bolt-action shotgun world. But this is an internal mag. You would pull this screw right here at the bottom, pull the metal out of the wood. You could bring the magazine box and the follower and spring out from the bottom. So the safety on this gun is a lever on the back here. It directly blocks the trigger. Let's see if I can turn this where you can see it. So you would have a red dot, and it would have a green dot here, but the green dot, and a lot of times, or most of the time really, on used guns, these red and green dots will be missing because they just come out over time. But those are being remade actually, and they can be replaced. It's just a matter of just drilling that out and gluing that green spike back in there for that deal. So when you can see it's pointing at the red dot, it's on fire. Pointing on the green dot, it's on safe. So the other mechanical thing you have to look at, or actually let's do it like this: when you're evaluating one of these to buy, it's never going to be a ton of money. It's never going to be a ton of money. So originality, condition, and scarcity, they're not scarce. In the 100 series, over 1 million of them were made. We know that to be a fact. So there's a ton of them out there. There's a ton of them languishing on the used gun racks of pawn shops and gun shops all across the country. So they're fairly easy to find. The originality, you know, I was in the gun bluing business for a long time, and I don't know that I've ever reblued one because typically the owners don't want to spend the money for that. Clean them up, sure. Maybe some home tinkerer refinished a stock or something, and that's your decision as to whether that's whether it was well done or not, as to whether you should devalue a gun based on a poor stock finish. So, I mean, that's up to you, shooter value versus aesthetic value, I guess. But one of the things that occurs fairly common on this gun, as well as the 22 rifles that have this similar, this is a plastic trigger guard with trigger grooves in it that's inletted into this pistol grip of this stock. And this guy cracks. He'll break right in here. And these are being remade, and a lot of times you'll see the patent number. I really didn't look on this one. No, the patent number is not listed on this. Sometimes the patent for this trigger guard, and I've seen those in the 22 rifles, typically the earlier 22 rifles. But these are being remade, but there's only really one size being remade, and it's not one size fits all. So we have had some success in the past using heat to kind of remold the plastic, kind of change the angle here. But occasionally you'll run into a gap in the inletting between the toe of the trigger guard and the inlet of the stock, and it just kind of is what it is. There's not a ton of ways to repair that. So be aware of that. It's not the end of the world. It's fixable. I think these are like $35 when you find them, the remade plastic trigger guards from a couple of sources. I may be completely wrong on that price. It's been a minute since I've had to do that. So realistically, in top condition, my opinion, is it's going to top out at about 150 bucks. A lot of times you can find them for a lot cheaper than that, especially when you have one that, you know, has the surface rust and the typical wear that you would expect to see on a 410 bolt action shotgun that was used for however many decades in the hunting field. There's no reason you can't use it now as a hunting gun, to be honest with you. So, gosh, you could probably be in that $100 range and pick these up fairly easily, I would imagine. I guess there's some folks that want to ask $200 or more for these guns. More power to them if they can get it. I don't understand. I wish I could get it. I know I can't, so we don't try. This particular gun is owned by actually one of our employees at the range, and he thought it'd be a good idea to push that out there, and I agree. I like the Mossberg product a lot. We'll be doing videos on some of the older Mossberg rifles as we get them in, for sure. There's a lot of U.S. military connotations to those rifles. As well as the Mossberg 500. You can't really talk about Mossberg without the 500 shotgun. So, and look at our gunsmithing videos. I think we did one not long ago on the 590, taking it apart, things of that nature. So if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell. It'll let you know when we post new stuff. We try to do that as often as we can, at least weekly. So thanks for stopping by the channel once again. As always, we appreciate it.